Hi, my name is Jennifer Martino. I am 21 years old and I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. 7 months ago, my life changed completely, and I feel that my message should be heard, so if you have the time, please listen. On December 2nd, 2011, my mom called me at school in Lethbridge to tell me to come home to Calgary because my dad was in the hospital. I didn't really think too much of it at the time. I just got my brother, drove back to Calgary, telling myself everything would be fine. This is nothing. By the time we got there, my mom informed me that that week my dad had been feeling flu-like symptoms, and that day he had actually collapsed at home, so my mom had rushed him to the hospital. The doctors did a bunch of tests to try and determine what was wrong. There was no signs, no red flags. He just seemed very ill for some weird reason they couldn't figure out. So they took him into surgery, and they opened him up and found that he had developed flesh-eating disease internally. So it had begun eating away all of his organs one by one, moving throughout his entire body. My mom, my brother, and I sat in the waiting room for 7 or 8 hours waiting to hear how surgery was going. The doctors eventually came out and told us that they had cut out most of my dad's organs, and they patched him up to see if he would make the night, and then they would try and cut out more the next day if it had stopped spreading. So we went home and waited a sleepless day to hear what was going on, and eventually that night on December 3rd, we got a call saying to come back to the hospital and say our goodbyes. My mom had to make the decision to take him off of life support, and one by one we had to tell him goodbye. That was by far the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with my entire life. Seeing him lying in that bed and telling him all the things that I wish I could have told him. There were so many times that I could have told him, "Hey Dad, I love you, thanks for being such a great dad," and I never got the chance. So at 9:18 p.m. on December 3rd, 2011, we had to take him off life support and his heart stopped beating. The autopsy results eventually showed that his appendix had burst, which led to septic shock and turned into flesh-eating disease. I did not think that was humanly possible, and all the doctors could keep saying was none of them had ever seen anything like this before, and they didn't know it could happen. So that whole ordeal just taught me that anything is possible, and life is too short. And that's really the message that I just want to get across from telling my story, is that life is way too short to waste it having so much hate for each other. Just tell somebody you love them and don't hold back. Cherish the family and the relationships that you've been given, because really, they could be gone in an instant, and there could be so many things that you would want to say to them, but you couldn't. And I learned that the hard way, and I don't want anybody else to have to go through with that. I didn't make this message to get attention or for pity. I just really want people to start appreciating their loved ones and stop taking life for granted. Life's so unexpected, so please just take advantage of each day that you have with your loved ones. Thanks for listening.